Good morning, Year 4. Today we're going to be dividing by 10, 100 and 1000. However, before we do that, as with your maths lessons in school, I would like you to complete the mini maths first. You will need a pencil, ruler if possible, and paper to record your answers on. Please can you make sure that the presentation is to the standard that we would expect in class for any of the work that you complete. You will be using the presentation today to work through your maths. So start please when you are ready by pausing this mini maths here, and when you have completed the answers for 1, 2, 3 and 4, press play and we will go through the maths thinking just like we would in class. Hello again. We're going to go through the mini maths now just like we would in class, and we're going to talk through using the vocabulary and our maths thinking. So number 1 asks you to round the number 5,738 to the nearest thousand. I've written that number here, and I can see, I'm going to start by looking at the digit that's in the thousand value, and I can see it's 5. So I know from this that I'm either going to be rounding this number down to 5,000 or rounding it up to 6,000, because the next digit after the 5 is the 6, so I will be rounding it to either 5,000 or 6,000. What's going to help me determine this is the digits that's in the hundreds column. You know that if that digit is a 1, 2, 3 or 4, it represents 100, 200, 300, 400. And you also know that those numbers are would round down, so we would round it to 5,000. However, if the digit that is in the hundreds column is 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9, representing 500, 600, 700, 800 or 900, that number is rounded up to the nearest thousand. So in this example, 5,738 rounded to the nearest thousand is 6,000. Number 2, you were being asked to subtract 4,000 and to subtract 3,010 from 7,738. In the first instance, I added the 310 to the 4,000, which gave me 4,310. I then subtracted this away from 7,738, and I used the column method to represent this. Talking through our maths thinking further, we would also have said 8 ones subtract 0 ones equals 8. 3 tens subtract 1 10 equals 2 tens. 700 subtract 300 equals 400. 7,000 subtract 4,000 equals 3,000. So we can see that 7,738 subtracting 4,310 gives us a total of 3,428. Number 3, 5,700 divided by 10. As you can see, the expectation of how this is supposed to be written and represented on your page. I've used the place value grid to help me to model and to demonstrate my understanding of this. I've got my 0 in my ones column, I've got my 0 in my tens, my 7 in my hundreds and my 5 in my thousands. Now I know that to divide this number by 10, I need to make it 10 times smaller, and to do that I move every digit one place to the right. Now, if I look at the 0 in the ones column, there's no digit, there's no value, there's nowhere for it to go. So I'm now going to go into the tens, and I'm going to move the 0 from the tens. That now becomes 0 in the ones. The 700s becomes 7 tens. I've moved it one place to the right. And the 5,000 now becomes 500. So 5,700 divided by 10 equals 570. This is something we are going to be working on more in today's lesson. And finally, complete the equivalent fraction, and the example given is 5/20. I know you do enjoy representing quite a number of these in your books in school, so I've given you a couple of examples. 5/20, you can times it by 2, multiply it by 2, which gives you 10. 20 multiplied by 2, which gives you 40, or another way of saying it, you could have doubled it. Again, you could have done the same again, and you've got the option of 20/80ths. Now, one final thing, you could have divided the 5 by 5 to give you 1. Also, what we do to the 5, we're going to do to the 20, so we're going to divide 20 by 5, which gives us 4. So we could have had 1/4, 5/20ths, 10/40ths, or 20/80ths. Any of those would have been fine. Now, today's lesson. I know before Christmas we used an example of this to help you to understand how to multiply by 10, multiply by 100, and multiply by 1000. We used the place value grid, and we taught you that if you're multiplying by 10, you move your digits one space to the left. When you are multiplying by 100, you move your digits 2 spaces to the left. When you multiply by 1000, you move your digits 3 spaces to the left. Now, in today's lesson and tomorrow's lesson, instead of multiplying and numbers getting larger by a multiple of 10, a multiple of 100, or a multiple of 1000, we're going to be focusing on dividing numbers, making them 10 times smaller, making them 100 times smaller, or 1,000 times smaller. And we do that by dividing by 10, dividing by 100, or dividing by 1000. I will keep this representation up so it will help you. You can refer back to it as your working model if you need to. So let's have a look first of all. I'm just going to talk through the bottom, and it shows us that when you divide a number by 10, your digits move right just by one space. When you're dividing a number by 100, your digits all move right by 2 spaces. And when you divide a number by 1,000, your digits move right by 3 spaces. And we've got an example here to look at, and it's 8 divided by 10, and it's got the number 420, and it's showing you that when that's divided by 10, it equals 42. And that's made that number 10 times smaller. Now, I'd like you in a moment to pause the video, and I would like you to have a look at what you notice when you divide a number by 10, 100, or 1,000. And I've already given you the examples here. I have used the same number. I've used the number 3,000, I've divided it by 10. I've used the number 3,000, divided it by 100, and then I've used the number 3,000 and I've divided it by 100. But just for a few minutes, I'd like you to pause this here and just have a think about what you notice. What's happening to each of those numbers when they're being divided? When you're ready, press play and we'll talk through it. Hello again. Okay, so one thing that you should have noticed, if we start with 3,000 divided by 1,000, we're left with just 3. When we divide 3,000 by 100, we should notice that 1,000 and 100, 100 is a smaller number than 1,000, and now we have 3 becomes 30. And when we divided 3,000 by 10, it became 300. So on this occasion, 3,000 divided by 10, we've taken a 10 off the end of 3,000, which has then made that 10 times smaller. 3,000 divided by 100, 100 has got 2 zeros, and we've taken 2 zeros out of the 3,000, and we're left with 30. The 3,000 divided by 1,000, we've got 3 zeros in the 1,000. We take 3 zeros out of the 3,000 and we're left with just 3. So it shows us how we've divided by 10, divided by 100 and divided by 1,000, but you should be able to start to see a pattern with the numbers. Now we're going to move on a little bit and we're going to practice this. So here I have given you one example. You may need a whiteboard and a marker pen, or if possible, please get another piece of paper that you can divide up into your hundreds, your thousand, hundreds, tens and ones, because you might want to have your own place value grid. That may help for the rest of this lesson. So I've started and I've chosen to give you an example of a 4-digit number, and the number is 5,450, and you will see that I've put that in on the place value grid and it's been represented, so I know I've got 5,000, I can see I have 400, I have 5 tens and 0 ones. Now I'm going to decide that I would like to divide that by 10. So my 0 in the ones, there's no place on the grid for it. So you can see that my 5 in the tens has now become 5 in the ones. You will see that my 400s has now become 4 tens. And you will see that my 5,000 has now become 500. I'm just going to get an arrow so that you can see where that's happened. As you can see, that's clearly moved one place. Remember, we've got the helper at the bottom. It says divided by 10, digits move right just one space, and you can see that each of those digits has moved right by just one space, and in doing so the number is now 10 times smaller. And here it's again. I've given you a few examples now, and I've got a 50, and although I can't put the divide sign in, I do expect these to be divided. So 50 divided by 10 equals 150 divided by 10 equals 4,650 divided by 10 equals. Then I've given you a few more examples. 4,500 divided by 100. Be really careful with that. Make sure that you're looking. Remember, if it's divided by 100, it's 2 spaces to the right. So what does that look like? Then we've got 4,000 divided by 1,000 and 6,000 divided by 1,000. So what I would like you to do now is pause this video here and have a go at using a place value grid. You can line up your own, or you can use a whiteboard and write down 50 divided by 10. What does it equal? 150 divided by 10. What does 4,500 divided by 100 equal? When you're ready, please press play. Hello again. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. Before we move on, I'm just going to go through 2 examples here, and I'm going to use the example of 4,500. As you can see, I've put those digits in the relevant spaces on the place value grid. And now I'm being asked to divide this number by 100, which means that each of my digits has to go 2 places to the right. So I'm now going to move them 2 places to the right, and I can see that if I move the 0 that's in the ones 2 places to the right, it actually isn't on my place value grid anymore. And that will also happen if I move the 10s 2 places. If I move it 1 place, it goes to the ones. 2 places, it goes off the grid. It's not on my place value grid anymore. So now I'm going to have a go at making the rest of it 100 times smaller. So I'm going to just represent that for you on here. Now, if I move the 500 1 place, it will go into the tens value and it will become 5 tens. However, that's 1 place to the right, and because I'm dividing by 100, it must be 2. So that's 1 place. I'm now going to move it over. So it's not in the tens, it's now in the ones. So my 5,000 now just becomes 5 ones because I've divided it by 1,000. My 4,000, which is in my 4, which is in the thousands, to divide this by 100, I move it 1 place to the right, but that's divided by 10. So I need to move it, I've got the reminder at the bottom as well that I'm looking at, 2 places to the right. So my 1,000, the 4 in the 1,000, I've moved it 2 places to the right, and it now is in my tens column. So my 4,000 now becomes 4 tens, and I have divided 4,500 by 100, and it is 45. So that's an example for you there. What I would like you to do now is on your sheets or in your books, I would like you now to work through these practicing challenges. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Please be careful because you will notice that they are not all divided by 10. Some of them are divided by 100. So we need to remember how many places to the right we need to move these to make them either 10 times smaller or 100 times smaller. I have set out the example of the first one, number 1, which is 260. I know I want to divide it by 10. So it equals, I've then used the place value grid, 100 tens ones. I've got my 260. As you can see, I've moved it one space only to the right. So my 6 tens becomes 6 ones, and my 200s now becomes 2 tens. So I can see that I have divided that by 10, and 260 becomes 26. So I've added that, and I've finished off by saying 260 divided by 10 equals 26. And then once you've finished that, you can leave a line in between them and start on number 2. Now, don't feel like you have to do all of these. If you're not confident, please do. If you do 1 and 2 and then you feel confident, please make sure you have a go at the dividing the hundreds. But when you are ready, please move on to the next challenge. So freeze this here to complete these, and when you're ready, press play and rejoin me for your next practicing challenge. Hello again. Now, this practicing challenge adds an extra step of difficulty, because I'm going to ask you to compare them now. So number 1, I've modelled it for you, says 3,600. It wants me to divide it by 10. So I have divided it by 10 and I've modelled it, so I know that it's 360. Now that's the first step. But as you can see, it's asking me to compare that to what 3,600 divided by 100 is. So on the same line, I've written 3,600. I've divided it by 100. I've moved it 2 steps to the right, and I've made it 100 times smaller, and it gives me 36. Please do make sure, if you need to, you use your place value grid. I've still got one modelled on this page. Now, that's part 1, part 2. Now I have to do the final part. So I've worked out what 3,600 divided by 10 is. I've then worked out what 3,600 divided by 100 is. But now I need to do the final step. 360 is something than 36. Is greater than, is less than, is equal to. So you're then going to put whichever of the symbols is correct to make this statement correct. When you've finished, complete number 2 and number 3. Feel free now to pause here and stay on this page until you've completed this challenge. When you are ready, press play and come and join me on the next challenge, please. Hello again. Now here, you're being asked to solve these divisions. So just like in the previous examples, please have a go at solving these, and remember, you are being asked to divide by 10, or have a look, are you being asked to divide by 100? Are you being asked to divide by 1,000? Please pause this here, and when you have finished these practicing examples, please join me for your next challenge and press play. Hello again. So your final practicing, and it says, while in Wonderland, Alice drank a potion and everything became 10 times smaller. Please complete the table. As you will not have the table, I would like you to represent it, please, on your sheet of paper that you have, or in your book if you're using your books in class. And I've already completed or had a go at representing the first one to the expectation of the layout I would like. So first of all, I need to decide what 10 times smaller is. So am I dividing by 10? Am I dividing by 100? Or am I dividing by 1,000? I've modelled it here, and it says 2020, and please use the the correct measurement. So here I've put centimetres. Please remember to add the divide. I'm going to divide it by 10 to make it 10 times smaller. Divided by 10 equals. Now again, you have the place value grid, which you can use to help you to move it to one place to the right. And then I would like you to tell me what it equals. When you have completed that, leave a line as is expected, and number 2 please, and then complete number 2 and number 3. Please pause here, and when you are ready, you may come and join me on the first practicing. Hello again, this is the first of the 2 thinkings. I'm going to read through it for today. You may not get time to complete this. If you don't, that's absolutely fine, because we will start this in tomorrow's lesson as we move through the rest of the model. But if you do have time, I'm going to read it to you. So it says, convince me that I need to divide 2,400 by 100 to get the answer of 24. Now, you've already been showing me over and over again your maths thinking on the practicing examples. Here, this is now what I expect you to do. I expect you to show me your maths thinking and show me your step by step, which is going to convince me of the fact that 2040 divided by 100 is 24. You can represent it in the place value if you wish, but I do need you to show me and to talk me through, if you want to challenge yourself further, how you know. So you may say, I know this because if I move it one place to the right, I know I've divided by 10. Or I know if I move this 2 places to the right, I know I've divided by 100. Equally, you might say, if I move this 3 places to the right, I know this is correct, because I know this is incorrect, because I haven't been asked to divide it by 1,000. So it's not just convincing me of how you know. Remember, for those children who are in my class, I do like a challenge. I want to know how you know, but equally how you know it not to be true. But if you don't get to finish this is absolutely fine, and we will pick this one back up tomorrow, and this will end today's maths lesson. Bye all.